As we continue our examination of the external selection process, we now want to focus our attention to some of the tools, the components, the metrics of that process. As a reminder from the last video, we start off with resumes, we move to job applications, we have a phone screen, we do some employment testing, have an interview, and then get to the background check. So again, let's examine this first component, and that is resumes and cover letters here. Now, one thing that we don't like about resumes is that the information provided is controlled by the applicant. And really, this is a marketing tool that one uses to make themselves look good. And it really doesn't provide, in many instances, the information that we're looking for as an employer. Remember, we have certain competencies that we're looking at. We want to find out if a person has those competencies. So another issue with resumes is many times the information on the resume isn't indeed true. And there's been many research studies done that actually show that a high percent of information on a resume is actually false. So as such, we really do need to validate what we're reading in that resume. So bottom line, not a lot of validity, not a lot of reliability, and it can have some adverse impact too, especially if it tends to kind of play into some of the biases that we have in our own organization or in our own head, really. There's a study that's been done where if you take one resume and on one resume you put something like Sean Smith, and then on another resume you put Shaquila Joaquin, the same exact resume, the resume with Sean Smith is going to get many more callbacks than the one with an ethnic sounding name. All that does to show us is that there's still a lot of bias in organizations that we have to work through. Now, let me give you a few hints personally. Run recruiting departments for many years. I've hired several people, and a good resume does a couple of things. Number one, it passes the 7 seconds test. Your resume should have a summary section right at the top where a recruiter can see that and quickly say to himself or herself, does this person have something that I'm looking for in my organization? You have to remember that when you're a recruiter, you're dealing with hundreds of resumes all the time, and you'll have a stack of them, and you'll be looking at one resume and you'll see another resume out of the corner of your eye, and if it looks more interesting, you're just going to quickly thumb to that. So within 7 seconds, you need to capture the attention of the recruiter. It also needs to be tailor-made to the job. When you're applying for a job, you need to look at the job description and make sure your resume contains all the competencies that they're looking for in that job. So don't just have one blanket resume that you're using for everybody. Your resume should have bullets in it. Again, people are looking at these things very quickly, so short, concise bullets and versus long, wordy paragraphs. You want your resume to be results-oriented. You want to show things that you've accomplished, things that you've done, not just the fact of what the job did. You want to show what you've done in that particular resume. Of course, you want the resume to be truthful. As a matter of fact, in the employment application, you'll have a paragraph, a disclaimer, as it were, that says that if any information in the application, in the resume, if it is not truthful, it's grounds for immediate termination. And this is a work product, so that you want to make sure that your resume is error-free. And I will tell you, if you're like me, it is hard to proofread your own stuff. So you want to make sure that you give your resume to an outside resource that can give it a good once-over and find any errors that might be in the document.